Now the next is literals. So the literals in Python can be defined as number, text, or other data that represent value to be stored in variables. So that is what it is, represent the value. Which type of value are stored into the variable, that is called literals. So we have different types of literals. We have string literal, float literals, character literal, integer literal, or boolean literal. So which variable is called, which variables are comes into which literals, that is we will represent with value. Clear? So there is example of a string literal. How you can say that the name is string literal? So it is using the single quotes, means that is any name. That name is enclosed into the single quotes. So that is called the string literal. Or string literal we can also enclose into double quotes. This is your double quotes. So any name that is comes under the single or double quotes, so that is called string literal. So this variable is become a string literal. So that is treated in Python as a string. Clear? So that variable are hold string value because there we assign a string value. So this variable is string literal. Now example of integer literal, that is numeric value. So there is age equal 22. So 22 is assigned into the age variable. This is your age variable, user defined name. So that variable now become a integer literal. So that age will be hold the 22. So that's why it is become the integer literal. Next, we have the example of float literal. So that is also numeric value, and but with the decimal. So 6.2, this is a float value, real value, yeah, or we can say that float. Clear? So this is a float. 6.2 is a float value and it is assigned into the height. So this is a variable name. So now that variable become float literal. And other special example of special literal, these are the special literal none. So none is assigned into the name, nothing, no any value. So this is now the comes under the special literal. We have now some escape sequences. We will now the next class we will know the escape sequence. So you first note down the definitions of literal and its types. So in a Python we have a string literal, integer literal, float literal and special literal with example.